Hey guys, first off, I just want to say thank you to everyone that watched my Blackberry video and my Monster headphone video. Because of all the views and all the support, I was able to get my first ever YouTube paycheck. So kudos to everyone who made that possible. And to piggyback off of the Blackberry video success, as the title suggests, I have another Blackberry video for you guys today, and I'm going to be talking about the Blackberry Keyone. So I know the phone has been out for a little while now, and there's a lot of review videos out there, so I'm not going to try and bore you guys too much on it. But I've used it for about 2 months now as my daily driver, so I'll let you guys know what are things that I like, I dislike, and just some observations and annoyances that I've noticed. And so if you're on the fence on purchasing the phone, hopefully this video will give you a little more insight on top of what you've already seen or researched on. And yeah, it's never hurts to have more information at your disposal. And so pretty much I'm not going to focus on the numbers like the benchmark, result, and things like that. It's more of an average consumer, what I've noticed, what I've found in my 2 months worth of use. And without further ado, I do have the list on my phone here, so bear with me if I'm kind of looking at my screen a lot here. But let's get to the first part of the things that I do like about the phone. So right off the bat, if you're thinking about this phone, chances are you want the keyboard, and I absolutely love the keyboard. My accuracy typing on this is a lot higher than on a touchscreen device. But I have noticed if my fingernails are a little longer, it becomes a little more annoying to type. So once I've cut it, I'm able to fly through it. So if you are someone who likes their fingernails long, not sure if this would be a good device choice for you, but just keep that in mind. If you have long fingernails, it is more difficult to type on it. And then one component of the keyboard that I really like is you can customize your shortcuts. So you have two 52 keys set of shortcuts. Sorry, I didn't really say that correctly. So pretty much you have 52 keys. You can have a first list of short press shortcuts and then another long press list of shortcuts, essentially making it 104 shortcuts. Different apps shortcuts that you can customize on here. You can also double tap the power button to quick launch the camera, and also the mute button on the side here, you can remap that to something that you want. So it's very customizable. Of course, I also really love the fingerprint scanner because of two things. One, when I'm in my car and I need quick access to my phone, because I have a vent mount, and so if I need quick access, it's just much easier with the fingerprint scanner on the front as opposed to the back, so I don't have to wrap my hand or finger around the back of the phone to unlock it. The other thing is if I'm setting the phone on a table, much easier access on the top or on the front than on the back. So just two quick pointers there, that why I really like it on the front. Really clean UI for Blackberry, so kudos to them for having a near stock experience. A lot of the times with different manufacturers that are non-Pixel or non-Nexus devices, they'll have their own skin on top. So two main negatives. One, the looks are kind of hit or miss, and two, it does hog more resources which affect the battery. So kudos to Blackberry for keeping it simple. And then the next thing is the battery life is a beast on this thing. Before, when I first started using it out and I hadn't set everything yet, I was able to get 3 days of use. And then later on, once I started adding a little more apps, there was one app that I did notice drains a little more. I can't recall which app it is, but there are certain apps that if you notice that it's draining more, that can contribute to whether or not you're having like half a day battery life. But on average, I'm able to get 1.5 days of battery usage on normal use. Keep in mind, I don't really watch Netflix or YouTube on the phone, because I mean a lot of the times when I'm watching that, it's near the like one, they hog a lot of battery, and two is they are data drainers, and I don't have unlimited data on my plan, so that's why I play some pick up and play games. Other than that, I'm usually just on social media, browsing, listening to music. I listen to a lot of music. Offline though, so I don't use Spotify, I use Power Amp, and that's where having that micro SD card expandable memory is such a huge thing for me. So battery is really, really good on an Android device. Another thing that I really like is the signal strength. So if you're coming from a Blackberry OS 10, OS 7 device, Blackberry devices are known for their signal strength. And if you're used to iOS or Android devices, chances are you aren't really spoiled with this aspect, because they do tend to be a little weaker. Nokia, Motorola, Blackberry back in the day, all of them had excellent signal strength for their devices. And so I'm really happy that the Keyone has been able to, hold on to a signal for a longer period of time in comparison to some of my older devices. One huge thing I really love, and I can't believe we're talking about this in 2017, is the headphone jack. So for me, I really don't like using dongles. There are instances where I would be using my headphone, and also I'll need to plug in to charge the phone. And so in that instance, I know I'm probably in the minority, but it does come handy. And then the other thing is, for myself, because I do create music content on my mobile devices, and so Bluetooth technology just hasn't progressed to that point where the latency is comparable to a wired connection. And so whenever I need to hit a beat, hit a note at a certain precise place, or when I'm playing it out, I need that zero latency, that zero lag. And so just Bluetooth doesn't solve that for me. And so the headphone jack is just a huge component for me. And I do have a few higher end headphones, so if I'm not able to use it and I don't want to use a dongle, then it's just, it kind of makes those headphones obsolete, and I still really enjoy using them. Two things that I'm going to highlight on the things that I don't really like or dislike. First one is the camera. So the camera is not bad, it's not great. If you're coming from a Blackberry device, chances are you're going to really love the camera, because it's probably one of, if not the best Blackberry camera that Blackberry has released on their devices. But if you're coming from an iPhone, a Note, a Samsung Galaxy S line, or even the Pixel line, you're probably going to be disappointed, just because it doesn't have the same punch and the same processing power. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you're buying it for the camera, I would say it's not the device you're looking for. But if you want the keyboard and you want a camera that's going to do a decent job, then hey, it's not that bad. So that's one thing. Another thing is, if you're used to BlackBerry Hub coming from the BlackBerry 10 OS, you're gonna be hugely disappointed. It's there, and I guess if you're moving away from the BlackBerry 10 OS, this is the only option that you have, BlackBerry devices with the hub, without having to go with a subscription for all the features. But as far as the feature and the intuitiveness, it's not the same as BlackBerry 10 OS, and so I like that they have it there, but at the same time, it's not the same fluidity within the OS or functionality-wise, and so I don't like it, but I also appreciate that it's there at the same time. So okay, now we're going to talk about the bad stuff. So the keyboard software issues is one thing that I'm going to highlight. It's because I have noticed when I'm typing, let's say for example, if I'm on Instagram and I'm typing something, and then I move over to WhatsApp for a quick reply, I do notice that it registers what I had on Instagram and kind of moves it over to WhatsApp as well, which is really odd. It's a software issue, I'm sure they can fix it, but I'm not sure how widespread the issue is. So that's one thing. The keyboard scrolling, one thing I forgot to mention is that the keyboard you are able to scroll. A lot of reviews do mention this, but what they don't mention is that you aren't able to pinch in or out to zoom in or out. And that was one thing that the BlackBerry Passport did really well. And then also the scrolling on the Keyone it's jittery. Actually, I shouldn't say jittery. I should say it's not that smooth, and there is a bit of a lag to it, maybe a ½ second to 1 second lag. It's not a huge lag, but it's enough to detract from the experience. And so a lot of the times I do find myself not using that keyboard scroll, I just continue using the screen. And while we're on responsiveness, The back, home, and recent buttons on the Keyone, I feel like it's implemented in an interesting way. So it's not part of the screen, it's not part of the keyboard, it's just this one black bar that's in between the screen and the keyboard, and it does lag. So when you have a lot of apps that's running in the background, it boggles down the system. And so when you're using the back button, so let's say for myself, if I'm in a forum app like Reddit or Tapatalk, when I hit the back button, I'm just trying to go back to the previous page, it doesn't register for like 2-3 seconds, so then I feel like it hasn't registered my touch, so I press it a couple other times, and then it just registers all my touches all at the same time with a 5-second lag or something along those lines, and then it just backs me out of the application altogether. It does happen frequently enough that I find it annoying, and so that's something that if you feel like that's a huge annoyance, then that's up to you to make the call whether or not that's a deal breaker. So mentioned a little bit about speed. The chipset Snapdragon 625 is not a high performance chip. So I mean, if you're going to be using a lot of graphic intensive stuff or do a lot of multitasking, chances are this would not be the right phone for you. One thing that I mentioned I really like is the headphone jack, but on the other side of the audio aspect, this phone does a poor job of audio output. So the headphone jack and also Bluetooth audio, I do notice a pretty significant difference in audio quality compared to an LG G6 or a Galaxy Note 8. And so even though I really appreciate them having the headphone jack, I feel like for the price that they're asking for, they could have incorporated better hardware for the audio department. So if you're a huge music buff like myself, this is not the right device for you. I guess to sum it all up in a nutshell, if you love the keyboard, the experience, and you want great battery life with a not too bad camera, this would be the phone for you. If you want something high performance and with great audio, probably not so much. I forgot to mention about the build quality, but it's fantastic. This one I believe should be a first batch device, but I haven't had the screen fall off issue, and so that's I think it's really hit or miss with regards to that, or maybe people are just not taking care of their devices as they would say. Not too sure, but I haven't had any issues. So would I recommend this device? Yes, I would. It's an excellent experience that you won't be able to find anywhere else with Android and the keyboard. Yes, you can have the keyboard on the Priv, but the Priv's keyboard is not good at all. This just blows it out of the water, and great, fantastic battery life. And also signal strength. If that's one thing, if you're using a phone still as a communications device, signal strength is a huge component to it. So based on that, this is an excellent phone. But if you're a power user, if you're downgrading from a flagship of 2017 or even a flagship from 2016, I think you're going to come disappointed. But from an experience standpoint, it's recommended. If you're looking for something very specific with your phones, then you're just going to have to think long and hard and maybe make a pros and cons list. That's pretty much it for me, and I know I kind of went through it really quickly, but because there's so much content, I wanted to jam pack into the video. But hopefully this gives you guys a better idea, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.